Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andy from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Quilting on the Side. We are so excited to have you here and to introduce you to our friend Jennifer Parks from Jenny K Quilts. We met Jenny as a member of this Quilting on the Side community. She's attended some of our planning events, and it's just been so fun to watch what she's been doing. And you had an exciting year, Jenny. Tell us about your business and what's going on.
Ooh, boy, it is. Last year, 2024 was very crazy. There was a lot of things. So you mentioned that I did the thing. I did the Audacious Retreat, virtual retreat that you two had at the beginning of last year. And I have to tell you, there were some really groundbreaking moments that I could not process at all right when we were doing it. But you had that one that was the letting go of your negative mindset. And I found out over the last couple of years is that this business is not, for me, it was not about learning the tricks or learning the best email sequence or here's what you need to sell or here's a formula that you need to do. It was so much more about character and my emotions and my heart and all that. And I really, really, really had to work through some of those. So in that segment that you did in the Audacious virtual retreat, we really started to dig at some of those things and how I really felt about myself. And this quote haunted me for years. It's from Dr. Joyce Brothers, so it was way back in the day. But it is, you cannot consistently behave in a manner that is inconsistent with how you see yourself. So I'm going to take you guys on this little path that I went on, right? And part of my big struggle was I would sabotage myself. And I still had to fight against that. But like things would be, all right, this is great. I've got this great opportunity. I'm so excited about it. And then what do? I don't follow up like I need to. I don't finish the project when it needs to be done. I kind of let it just all fall to the side. I want to succeed in this. I want to step across the threshold into what I know I can do, what in my mind I know I can do. But my heart was saying, no, you can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. And it's amazing. I've been listening to some stuff on your heart-mind connection and how those things kind of work together, right? And your heart, I'm going to say for lack of a better term, is the center of your being. Your unconscious, it's the thing that kind of drives and controls everything else. And what it wants, always, what it tries to maintain, always is equilibrium. It does not want to be disturbed, does not want to be upset. You do not rock that boat. Thank you very much. And so it's going to it's going to reject anything that doesn't fit with that equilibrium that it thinks you're supposed to have. The thing is, the stuff gets put in our hearts, and sometimes we don't realize it. We didn't intend for it to be there. We don't want it to be there, but yet it's still there and causing problems. So I know you guys have probably heard that phrase, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? And that word thinketh is the word porto. It's a Latin word, porto. And that's the same word that we get for a porter, a person who carries something, to your room, or the porter who stands at the door and opens it and says, you can come in, or says, no, I'm sorry, you can't. So that thinketh, what we port into our hearts is who we are going to be. And just kind of realizing that and making that connection, that it's what I'm allowing in my heart. What am I putting into my heart? What's in there that is driving me to do this? And you guys, I think anybody can relate to this. especially if you've been self-sabotaging. But if you think about that with quilters, right? We show a quilt, oh, look at this quilt I made. Isn't it great? And we show all our friends and they say, oh, we say, what do you think? And they say, oh, it looks beautiful. Oh, I love how you did that. I love it. What are you going to do? And they're excited about it. And what do? Oh, yeah, but I don't like this part here. And I didn't match the points on this part, but it's because something inside us, in our heart, says, you're not really that good. Yours can't be good enough. It's not as good as somebody else's. So we reject that nice comment. We reject those nice thoughts because that's not what's in here. So I have to tell you, last year I went on quite a journey. The beginning of the year, oh man, I crammed. I joined a group called Created to Thrive, which is particularly it's directed towards artists, but kind of all aspects of the life of an artist. And it's helped me this year. There's massive amounts of material in there, but it helped me this year to kind of view my quilts and the work that I do more as an art, not just oh yeah, I just make some quilts or whatever. I just put, but as an art, as something that has value, of something, gifts that I've been given to be able to create those things, right? Like somebody has a talent for, I mean, my brother's amazingly athletic, and any sport he starts to play, he can play it and play it beautifully. Me, I'm kind of the anti-athlete. No, thank you. I can't do that. But he has been given those skills and abilities. I don't have those. What do I have? I have skills and abilities with art and with teaching and with being able to put colors together and to design quilts. And so I've been learning over this year to value that and lean into that, not think it's less of something than it is. Do you know what I mean? I think quilters, we always do that. We think it's just, and it doesn't help when somebody comes up to you. Oh, you're a quilter? Well, my grandma quilted. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of different now, but okay.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of that type of reaction from some of my old Air Force buddies, because as a very young woman, I was in the Air Force. And then, here I am all these years and decades later, and and you quilt? And it's like this disappointment that I didn't live up to some expectation that, if you were in the Air Force, you should have been blah, blah, blah. And
Yes.
life takes you on a different path. But that's so encouraging that you found value in that retreat and it sparked additional learning. And that's fantastic.
Yes, so much, so much. So the art kind of over this year have been forcing myself not to say no to something before I even apply, and then saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I got the email back. I'm going to respond right away. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and keep pushing in those places where I normally would not push myself. And I think as you do that, it kind of changes, it changes how things go, right? You just have to take every opportunity that's put in your hand and do the best you can with it. And if you can't do it, or if it's not, it's also helped me be able to say no to some things and say, that's not really my thing, right? You always have those friends who, oh, you know what you should do? You should do the thing just like so-and-so's doing. But yes, so-and-so's doing that. So maybe I need to do a different thing than so, you get helpful advice, but you got to say no when you know who you are and what you're supposed to be putting out there. So that's been a lot of it. So over the year, I've gotten a lot of gigs. I was thinking about this too this year. I actually started planning 2025 in December of 2024, which is the first time I've ever really done that. And I have a big calendar whiteboard, and I actually wrote it all out and filled it all in before January 1st, all of the dates. And I made, you guys, okay, now this is a really good business tip. Spacing out my events so that I'm never more than 2 or 3 weeks from a payday. So instead of thinking, I'm going to have this one big thing there and this one, but have it like, okay, maybe this event didn't work out as well as I wanted to. That's okay. In 2 weeks, I got another payday. I'm doing something else. So spacing it out like that has been so encouraging, because last year I had like 5 things total on my calendar, and it was very scary, and things got filled in, but it wasn't nearly what I wanted. This year, it's much better. Very excited.
Yeah, having that momentum, that is super, super exciting. And I love that tip especially for people that are on kind of a solo business or entrepreneurial roller coaster we've talked about sometimes, that you really have to push sometimes to get that payday. But if you've got kind of planned things at a regular interval, that gives you a lot better flow through your business.
Yeah. Agreed.
You've mentioned teaching. So what is your business exactly? Are you a pattern designer and a teacher? What do you do exactly for your business?
Well, for a long time, this is part of what was last year, is kind of getting the focus. What am I really good at? So many things. It's just kind of throwing spaghetti to the wall and seeing what sticks. And now it's much more, what am I passionate about and what will people pay me for? It's that little part in the Venn diagram.
Yes.
So, but primarily I do teaching, virtual teaching, lots of stuff like that. I have courses, and then I do in-person teaching as well, and lectures to guilds. That's primarily what I do. Like, I have a couple courses. I have a pattern line, but I don't love writing patterns. I could sit all day and not move designing a quilt, but the writing of it is really challenging for me. One of the things I found out too, again, over this last year, is that I have something called dysgraphia. And dysgraphia is like, think physical dyslexia, right? So I have take the word bed, B-E-D. I know how to spell it. I know what it is. I know how to read it. I know how to say it. I know all these things. But if I'm nervous or stressed, sometimes not even, my hand, instead of writing B-E-D, will write D-B-E. I gotta erase that and do that again. So the physical act of typing something out and going back and doing the writing, it's very hard for my brain to do that well. So I think I was trying to do the things, all right, okay, as a quilter, here you got to do this and you got to do that other thing and everything. I was trying to do that. I'm not sure that is my thing. I mean, I know you have to have patterns out there, but I think I need to, over this year, come up with simplified ways that'll work for me. Because writing long, really extenuated patterns, it's just not comfortable for me. It's not my thing. Teaching, courses, video, that's my jam. My big things are color. I talk a lot about color. I've got a color course. And I also talk about ways to simplify things like binding. That's another one of my big courses. Beautiful machine binding. That's very nice. I just launched that December. Launched it in December. And then another thing that I've really been focusing on, and guilds really like, is a lecture that I have called Leaf Quilts, Not Fabric. And I want to develop a whole course for that. And it's kind of going through your UFOs, trying to get through there, some accountability for that. And also the reasons, the emotional reasons and the head reasons why we get the UFOs, and helping you deal with that. It's not just a formula. It's we got to dig a little bit deeper to get beyond that UFOs to try to get a handle on that. So that's kind of my thing. I do a lot of video, do a lot of guild stuff. I love doing guild stuff.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to guilds as well. Just, that meet all the quilters is my goal, I suppose. What have you found the best way to get connected to guilds and book those speaking events?
I think the best results I've gotten have been with, one, kind of throwing videos out there. I do a lot of reels. I try to do a lot of reels and things like that so that people are seeing you. Mm-hmm. You're up in the algorithm. Got to feed the algorithm. And also working with Global Quote Connection and being a guest on their stuff when they have their sampler platters. I try to do that and try to get exposure that way. Other virtual events too, like Creative Spark. I'm doing the color mixer at the beginning of the year in January, which I think this will come out after that's already happened. But virtual events like that also kind of get your name out there so people see you a little bit more. I tried a long time ago just emailing, just going through a list, all the ones in the area nearby and all the ones and trying to do that Zippo. I got nothing doing that. It's like, no, that's not the way we're going to do it. We're going to find you ourselves. So my thought is, okay, I'm going to be where I can be found. Here I am.
Yeah.
Like Donkey and Shrek. Pick me.
Great advice to, because everybody's around, scrolling through social media. So yeah, you definitely have to keep showing up. So that's fantastic. And As a matter of fact, I will have the opportunity to be part of that beautiful machine binding course because you're speaking with my guild. So that's
Yay! That's right. That's right.
yeah, that's
Yes.
coming
Nice.
up.
Very nice.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. When with your non-guild classes, how do you find the students? How do you find your students? That's a good question. How do you find your students? Like, how do they find you?
Right. I've been working, and this is part of the advice that you, I think, gave me at the end of stuff, like how to move the business forward, is to try to go local. And I found a shop that they have 2 locations, and I really like to work with them. They're just really good customer service. People recommend them. I mean, I had a choice in the area where I am of a couple different shops to work with, and I picked the one that I thought, okay, I like the way they handle their business. That's what I want to be connected with. So I do that through them. And some of them, I'll be honest, some of them are like, 3 people show up. That's not a lot. That's not very fancy. But, there'll be other ones that is like, oh, all right, what's the limit on class size? We got 20 that want to come, and so then you schedule it again and again. And so my goal with those is to build the relationships there. I'm a cherrywood fabric ambassador. And so I'm building a same relationship with the cherrywood supplier here in Denver. And I'm excited about that, working with that. We haven't quite gotten lift off with that one yet, but we've got a lot of stuff planned for this year. So I think that's going to be really good. But I think a lot of it has to do with the building really good shop connections. Mm-hmm. And then I get people that will take, all right, I'm gonna take all our classes. Is she on again? All right, I'm there. Hey, good to see you again. So you get those repeat, and then you get people signed up for your email lists, and then they're following you, and you're kind of building those relationships. So I think that's a lot of it. But it's through the shops. That's where I get them.
And with those shop classes, do you offer the same classes, like color, binding, the same classes?
I do offer, a beautiful machine binding, the color workshop, and not the leaf quilts, not fabric. I haven't developed that into a whole class yet, but I'm also starting to offer beginners series. So I call it Quilting Basics. And the first one is it's like 3 hours, and I just teach you basics of cutting, piecing, accurate pressing, really simple quilting thing, and a pocket or envelope binding to get that done. And then the next one is going to be triangles. And then there's curve piecing, a foundation freezer paper piecing, and I always forget what the last one is. What's the last one?
You do any applique?
That's the one. That's the one.
A word.
An applique. Right. To kind of give you the basics. So any quilter at any point could jump in and take what they want, but also you could follow it all the way through. You'd have all the skills you need to start to jump into any kind of pattern that you want to tackle. So that's what I'm working on, getting that up this year.
And you're doing mostly in person. I'm assuming the guild stuff is virtual. Do you have online classes as well as in person?
I do. I have the beautiful machine binding course, which I said launched in December. And then I have the quilters color course, which that's been up there for a little while. I'm hoping to add some new things in February. So some new things on that. And that's if you want to take a deep dig into color. But I think I have a little bit of a different take. My perspective is from a person who's worked with people in the shops. It's not to get you an art degree or teach you interior design. It is to teach you how to take fabric and put it together and make your quilts. So it's very boots on the ground, very practical, but giving you different ways of seeing color that you might not intuitively see yourself, right? It seems like some people have this intuitive, oh yes, of course, this goes here and that, ta-da. You're like, what? But it's much more the same way that I would help somebody when they come into a shop and I say, okay, let's pick out fabric together. Let me show you how this works. Let's do this together. And that's very much what I want to say, the tone, the voice in my color course.
So, and I think that's great voice.
And occasionally throughout the year, I'll offer, like with the color course, I'll offer a work along where we'll go through all the lessons and we meet once a week and everybody shows their stuff and, to kind of keep us all encouraged and going like that.
Now, I love that you came at it, developed this course from your own point of view. Like, there's other color courses on there or out there, but you've approached it with your own point of view of working with people in shops. I think that's amazing. I hope that our listeners take that and kind of ruminate and reflect on, like, how can I teach what I know from my point of view? And I love that you said it that way. So I wanted to call that out. So everybody listening kind of hears that.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about how you found the collaboration events. You mentioned you're teaching with Creative Spark.
Yeah. On the Quilt Pattern Designers page on Facebook. Catherine, who runs the page, and I have a thing coming up with her. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I'll go on there and, kind of scroll around and see. And occasionally somebody will say, hey, we've got this event coming up if anybody wants to participate. I'm like, yes, I'm there. What is it? What can I do? Yeah, and Catherine is, and I'm Catherine Merkel. I believe that's her last name. I hope I'm saying that properly. She writes cozy quilted fiction with the murder mystery type of fiction and stuff. And this year she is actually using one of my quilts on the cover. And the deal was my quilt gets to go on the cover, but then in the story, she kills me off. So that is sometime in the spring that's going to be coming up. So yeah, I get to be a fictional murdered character in a book.
Oh, but having the cover quilt is so fun.
Yeah.
And then will there be a pattern tie-in to that?
I actually have the pattern already written. I think I'm just going to redo the cover so that it matches in the same color thing. Yeah. But yeah.
Fun. Yeah, we've talked to a couple quilt fiction writers, and that's a really fun offshoot of our business. And the Quilt Pattern Designer group is a great source of inspiration. And like you said, lots of opportunities come up, and they don't fit for everyone, but that's great that you found an avenue for that. What else are you doing in 2025?
Well, I do want to launch a course for Leave Quilts Not Fabric. I want to do that. So you asked me, what are your goals? I want to do all the things. I'd like to do all the things now. I have a video series that I want to do, which I think it checks all the boxes of something that quilters would want to watch. So it would be interesting. They would draw people in. That would give me good exposure to affiliate links and that kind of thing. But it fits under that category of, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. It's kind of a big lift, but I'm excited and I'm looking forward to doing it. So I want to get that. I want to get the course going and I want to get that going. And that is kind of where I'm at. I really want to develop this year my routine of working instead of working like to catch up or struggling to do it. This is one of the encouragements of the Created to Thrive is that if you have been given a gift to do something, you need to get down there and do it. And I don't know about you, but sometimes in my business, quilting is the last thing I do. And my stuff is dusty and it's the last thing on there. And I need to switch that. I need to change it so that, all right, the business part, yeah, maybe that gets my first most alert chunk of the day. But then after that, that's me. That's me in the studio. I got to try this one. I got to do that one. What if this works? What if that doesn't? I've got to try all those things. So I'm excited to do that. And I think I just need to find my groove and figure out when's going to be the best time to do that. But I think I really, really need to make studio time and make those ideas that are in my head. I need to start making them, actually making them instead of just having them be in my head.
So yeah, sounds like a fabulous plan.
Yeah. That leads me to wonder, do you have any help in your business or is it just you doing everything?
It's me. It's Zippo me. Last year, I did have some accountants, and not quite accountants, but bookkeepers. And that was good because, well, and I'll be honest with that too. Part of this, what I had to overcome last year was I was having panic attacks. I would sit down in front of my studio and in front of my computer, not even sewing, right? I'm in front of my computer and I would have a panic attack and I would cry and sob. And I mean, just the whole thing, and text some of my friends like, you got to talk me off the ledge, man. I'm going. And it was very challenging. But bookkeeping was one of those things that was just such a hard thing for me. It's a hard thing for me to do. But I think one thing that I've decided to stop doing is comparing my my weaknesses to somebody else's strengths. So somebody else is really good. Like they can do both the creative things and the numbers things. I was comparing myself and feeling bad about myself. That doesn't help me get anything done. But feeling bad about myself that I could not do it the same way that they did. So, okay, I need to find a way that's going to work for me. So I think hiring someone, that would be the first person that I would hire. You take care of do the number thingies. And then I think the second person would be somebody to help me write and edit and do the patterns. Like I could tell them what I want, and I could send them pictures of what I want, and then they put it all together. Because that again is a very hard part for me. But
I'm gonna laugh if you get pitches from tech editors after our episode airs. Any tech editors are out there that want to send their pitches to Jennifer, I'm sure that she would love to hear them.
Sure. Yes. That would be good.
Oh, well, I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about just some advice. What advice would you give someone who's aspiring to start their own quilt business?
Well, there's always the cliches about passion, right? Pick the area that you're passionate about. And to me, it feels a little bit like cliche, but the passion is, what thing do you do that you're like, oh, I love to do that, right? And you could spend hours and hours doing that and not even notice that the world has gone by. What is that thing that just jumps up in your heart? And you're like, oh, yes, can I? Oh, and you'd pay me too? Oh, that's awesome. That's the one you want to go for. Narrow into that one. Fine tune that one. Lean into that strength. Learn the technical things that you need to do for that one. But lean into that one and see how you can build it around that. Because I think that, a lot of the stuff that we see, right, when we're scrolling and things like that, it can seem very inauthentic. But if it's the thing that you're actually thrilled about, the thing that gives you joy when you do it, the thing that your heart just lights up and you're on fire when you do it, that's the thing to do. Do that thing. Whatever it is, if it's long arming, if it's designing, if it's pattern writing, if it's doing the designs on the fabric, whatever it is, lean into that one and bring your own unique voice. Bring you and do what only you can do. It's so easy to see what the other videos, the things that everybody else are doing, and you copy them, but that's not you. Do what only you can do, what is uniquely you. And I would say do that. And then the other pieces will start to fall into place. But if you do that, if you pursue that and pursue that with confidence, the other things will fall into place and people will follow you because people are drawn to that. They're drawn to that passion. They want a part of that. They want a part of authenticity, and they want joy, and they want encouragement. I think that's what people want. So that would be my tip.
I love that. And I was watching Andy's face while you're talking to Andy. What came up for you when she was talking about that? I'd love to hear, like, in the back of your mind, what popped out in your mind that you love and might be passionate about. And I'll share too.
Yeah, I was just resonating with all of it, that you do have to do things that you enjoy. I mean, not everything in your business is going to be something that you love to that degree, but at the core, you definitely want your key offer, your that thing that you're known for to actually be the thing that you really love.
Yes.
I just all throughout our conversation tonight, Jenny, I've just been so appreciative of how open you've been about your journey. And I do think that mind work is important. So, really digging in to that. I'm glad that you invested in yourself and did some of that hard work. And I'm glad that it's gotten you to such a great place.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing. That was really inspiring. And when you were talking just now, I was thinking about how the reason I started laughing. So if you're watching the video, I started laughing because it wasn't quilting and it wasn't even teaching so much that came up for me. It was the strategy and taking the work off of other people and making the plan for them, and they can take it and run with it. I love the planning part. I will plan every day, all day. When you come to execution, and I'm like, I don't want to be out there. But I will plan marketing. I will plan, your course. I will plan like your landing page. I will plan so many things. And I love the strategy behind it and the metrics behind it.
Oh,
And
man.
it gives me the confidence that when you were talking, that's what came up for me. And that is what I'm leaning into this coming year. And I'm not worrying so much about patterns. I'm not worrying about quilting except for myself. And it feels freeing. Like it was so powerful, like listening to you just now. And that's kind of why I asked Andy first, because I was like, hey, Andy, what came up for you? Because I'm just having like a moment over here.
Yeah.
And I can totally see that for you. Just, I can totally see you working in that beautifully. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
Excited?
So before we ask Jennifer the rapid fire questions that we come up with for all our guests, I do want to ask Tori to share where people can come to get some of that planning that you're so excited about.
Yes, so we have our Patreon community. So if you absolutely loved what we talked about today, if you want to hear more from us, get more content, you can find us on Patreon for as little as $5. You can join us. So we have 2 tiers. We have the $5 tier, which is our friends of the podcast. So you're helping support our podcast, getting guests on, helping us with our equipment and our website, and just keeping this wonderful project going. We love. And if you'd like to join as best of friends, I think it's BFF of the podcast, BFF Side Hustlers. That's what it's called. It's $15 a month, and you get all the benefits of the $5 Friends of the Podcast. Plus, you get a live question answer with Andy and I, and the opportunity to come live for some of our guests to ask them your own questions. So it's a great deal. We have a lot of support in there, and we do our quarterly planning within the paid part of the membership. So you can do $5 a month or $15 a month and help support us in what we're doing here.
Wonderful. We'll see everyone on Patreon. But first, we need to ask Jennifer our rapid fire questions. And the first one we start out with is, tell us a color you struggle to include in your quilts.
Gray.
That's not a color.
I just can't imagine it. I can't think that needs gray. I can't do it. I can't do it.
And I did a whole quilting gray. So
I love gray.
That's fine. That's great.
Yep.
So fun.
Yep. So yeah, it's fun to hear everybody's likes and dislikes because they're so different. And yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
Do you prefer yardage or pre-cuts?
Yardage. There's so much more you can do with it. And I'm usually like, hey, I could do, I'll get a pattern and I'll get somebody else's pattern. Then why do just the pattern? What if I did, and I go off script. So lots of times the pre-cuts, they just don't work. I find them too confining. So I'd rather have all the possibilities of the yardage. That's me. Although jelly rolls, I love 2.5-inch strip pre-cuts.
They're pretty tempting. And along with that, what's your favorite notion to use in the quilt room?
I knew you were going to ask you this. I got this. Glue stick.
Oh.
That is my favorite notion. Absolutely. I love glue stick. And then second is, this is a tiny crochet hook. And when I'm teaching and I've got the camera right there, virtually teaching, got the camera right there, I can point in there with a little crochet hook and people can see right what I'm looking at. So I have those 2 there.
Oh, that's handy.
Very good tool suggestions. We'll have to try that. I thought you were going to tell us about using the crochet hook to pull some stray threads.
Well, that'll happen too sometimes. Like, oops, I got that in there. But mostly it's to point. See if you see here, these lines on your foot. Yeah.
So we've got the next rapid question. The next rapid fire question is, how many quilts are in the room with you right now?
Okay. So I have 2 on the walls by me. And then I have a suitcase that has all of my quilts, but it's in there. They're not unpacked. So that I think I have 20 in the room with me right now, about, give or take.
I would just keep that all lumped together as one suitcase.
Okay.
Great. What do you find most rewarding about your quilt business?
Honestly, I think this is kind of the way I describe my core motivation, I guess. I want to entertain, I want to encourage, and I want to educate. Those are those things. If I can do that, if at some point in a class, and I'm not even to the main thing, but somebody says, that was worth the price of coming. Okay, I can go home now. That was such a good tip. If I can do that, and if people come up to me afterwards and say, that was really good. I was so encouraged by what you said, and I learned how to do this. It's like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Because this is not rapid fire here. I'm going off rapid fire, but years ago, I worked at SoFro Fabrics way back in the day, right? And I learned the power of smiling at somebody when you're helping them with the register. So I could see somebody coming up and they might be really grumpy, or, you just tell they're not very happy. But if I smiled at them and I said, "How are you doing today? What can I help you with?" Sure, we could do that. If I was like that towards them, that's how they left. And I changed their day. And sometimes just where you end up, right? The direction you end up is just a matter of degrees. It's a couple taps one way or the other. And if I can tap somebody a little bit and encourage them and help them and have them end up in a different place, I want to do that. That's the most rewarding part. So I try to, all of what I do is kind of centered around those spokes, if you will. So that's the rewarding part for me.
I love that. That's a new answer. We haven't heard anything like that before.
Really, that idea of nudging someone just a little bit over towards the positive, that's beautiful.
Our last rapid fire question for you is, who is inspiring you right now? And they don't have to be a quilter. So they can be in the quilting industry or outside of it.
Oh, last year I developed a new technique taking a print of Van Gogh's sunflowers and developing a method to super easily transfer all the shapes on there onto fabric, so you don't have to do a gazillion templates and whatnot, and then making like your own classic piece of art with that. And then I did it for the Cherrywood Challenge. I did another thing that he had with poppies in a vase, and I did the same thing. And I'm just really inspired and looking at that and thinking, how can I take the freedom of Bob Ross and the beauty that I see in these classic paintings and put it into quilting? How can I do that? How can I make that happen? So that's what I'm really inspired by right now.
Very cool.
Again, another cool approach. Like, how do I approach this differently? Oh, that's fun. Bob Ross and Van Gogh. How interesting.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Remind people before we go, where can they find you online?
So it's Jenny K Quilts, JennyKae Quilts. And I got website, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. I'm annoyingly in all the places. So you can find me wherever there. But just reach out to me in any of those platforms or through my website. You can contact me right there. I'd love to hear from people. So
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a wonderful conversation with Jenny of Jenny K Quilts. And we love to take time to reflect. So Tori, what was your biggest takeaway from our conversation with Jenny?
Well, I did mention it in the episode, but I want to say it again. I love how she takes her own approach. So she thinks about, how does she think of something, and she designs her class around how she thinks. So she mentioned having a class or a technique where she combined the Bob Ross and Van Gogh, and she made it her own. And same with color. She has her own approach where she approaches color as if you're walking into a quilt shop and how she would help you within the shop, and that kind of color class. And I love the way that she has taken that to heart, and she really works from her own point of view and really owns what she teaches by looking at her own point of view. And I really love that. What was your best takeaway, Andy?
I was just amazed at the value she found in looking at her self-talk and some of the obstacles that she had, and how she really took the time to identify that mind-heart connection and really make sure that what she was doing in her business was aligned with her true self, I guess, is kind of the woo-woo way to put it. But we've had other guests on. I'm thinking of the life coach Dara Thomason from season 3 that really dives into some of that work, that your life is going to be a balance of good and bad, and let's start looking at how we're approaching things and the things we say to ourselves that may reinforce those obstacles, and let's stop blaming all the outside forces and look inward and find some of those solutions that are waiting for us in the dark recesses of our mind. We can all be our own best advocate if we take the time to do that. And it was amazing how Jenny talked about the success she had after doing that work. So it really paid off, whereas some people might be afraid to take those steps back and do some of the stuff that's not right actively on the quilting part.
It's hard. The piece of wisdom she shared with that stuck with me was the heart, like looking into the heart, see what was already there. And that porter, I just like let him in, and we carry it around with us, and it's all in our heart. And if we can get in there and see what's in there, then we can move forward with it. And that's exactly what we talked about with like Dara. And we hear that a lot with like millionaires and billionaires. They all talk about going back into your own mindset and fixing the mindset first so that you can move forward. And I'm agreeing with you. I think that was a really powerful part of what she shared with us.
I've heard before that sometimes you need to slow down so that you can speed up. And I think that was an example that she gave. And you're looking amazed. What revelation was that?
Was so serendipitous. Okay, so I joined a mastermind through the Craft Industry Alliance. It's the productivity mastermind. And that's exactly what one of the ladies said. She's like, I'm learning to slow down to work faster. Like you said it again, I feel like I'm getting a message from the universe. You need to slow down so you can work faster. And I even shared like one of my themes for this year was to figure out how to actually rest, not just take time off to do other busy things, but like to actually take time to rest. And that's why I went like this. I was like, oh my gosh, there it is again. So I think I'm getting a message from the universe.
I would say so. When you start hearing things from multiple sources, then yeah, that's definitely a sign. And I take that too as, it was fun to hear Jenny say that she loves to say yes to all the opportunities, but she is taking a long view. Like she filled up her whole year calendar. So she knows when she can say yes and build on some of those opportunities. So yeah, just so many great things. I'm glad that we got a chance to catch up with Jenny of Jenny K Quilts.
And remember, if you're enjoying this conversation, you can find more on our Patreon, where it's only $5 or $15 if you want to join us for a live Q&A and a little more extra bonuses.
We hope to see you soon. And in the meantime, we get to do a little quilting on the side. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.